Hi, welcome. We'll start in a minute. Uh, just time for you to settle, right? Hi, welcome, bonjour, bienvenue. So the class today will be held in English, and yeah, what to say with all that is going on. Huh? Uh, to be honest with you, I was thinking this morning. I was thinking that I was considering uh, canceling the class. I was considering, putting some sign at the moment of the class saying something in support of, saying maybe just Black lives matter, and there will be no class today in support of our reflection. And yeah, it's not happening. I'm here, and I thought we actually need spaces to reflect and contemplate and be with difficult feelings. And so meditation serves many purposes, and it can definitely be a refuge for calm and quietness, and to, when we have access to it, gain access to loveliness and ease, and maybe a spacious heart and mind. And through concentration, there can be even rapture and ecstasy, and meditation is also a space, a very powerful space to be uncomfortable, to explore, investigate in a field of warmth, in a field of care, in a field of benevolence and compassion and courage. Also, a space to experience the emotions, strong emotions, such as rage or confusion or dejection, despair. And these have their places in the practice of meditation. When they show up, it's possible to learn how to not only accompany, make space for, but gain insight from. It's as if to allow the feedback loop to happen again when we are often disconnected from what's happening, in society or in our own lives, etc. So there's many different purposes. I won't have the exact quote from Audre Lorde, because as I know, I do pretty much everything spontaneously like I'm doing now, but there's something she says about it is a political action to actually take care of oneself, especially if you're out there, either targeted or fighting for justice. And for some of us, actually, I think that the political action is actually to move in the discomfort, because maybe because of the privileged situation we're in. For example, for me, as a white cis male, I have many, and I'm going to quote here also Ruth King. I heard Ruth King say this. For many of us, we all have exits, way to avoid thinking or considering things. But some of us have a lot more exits possible. Some of us in what's happening right now in the United States, but I think we can easily include Canada in there, and whatever country you're listening from, it's at play for sure. Race, racism, systemic racism, and for some of us, what might be helpful at a certain moment is to move away, protect one's mind and heart, and not be in the news with the news and the action. And for some of us, the spiritual practice is actually to move forward and stop and consider something that we might be able to, it seems like we can afford to not consider. And so, so that's what's going on. And maybe I can say more about, share some thoughts very humbly from my, social location about what's the Dharma of this? What's the Dharma of this? What's the non-harming possible here? What's the protection? What's the end of suffering? So Buddhist. We're talking about suffering and the end of suffering. The Dharma is exactly meant for that, or addressing that. And so very highly spiritual and responsible. And so see how you feel today and how you're impacted by what I'm saying, how you're touched by what I'm saying. And see if it can be okay that there is, maybe something opens up. At least somebody's talking about it. White men talking about it, or if it brings charge to you, or discomfort, or whatever, the range is so, the possibility of what we feel is so wide. And so see if it can be just noticed for you what is felt right now as you're hearing me, and as we're together here, us together here. So see what's there alive, and can there be place for this? Whatever this is, it might be your exhaustion, it might be your quietness today, your spaciousness of mind and heart, or equanimity, the capacity to be with the 10,000 cries of sorrows and joy in the universe. And see if it's okay that it feels like this right now, just right now, if it can be felt and experienced just as it is. And we're moving here into the meditation. And so your eyes can be closed, or they can be open. And let's notice that there's a body here, truly alive. Whatever the color of your skin, not one skin tone the same. Whatever the color of the skin, notice the aliveness inside this body. Same aliveness, same sensitivity, same desire for protection, same desire to bloom, feel safe and contribute. And let's attend to this body here, alive here, carried equally, every one of them, by earth. Touch equally by warmth or coolness. And staying here with both the consciousness, recognition that these bodies are not treated all equal, even though they are. Some get to feel more safe than others. And see if it feels right or okay with you. Each one of us experiencing consciousness, being conscious, being touched by sounds and sensations and tastes and smell and sights and thoughts and images and memories. All of us experiencing the world, being touched by it, touching the world equally, yet given different values. Value. What's that about? And staying here in this body with these questions, not trying to answer them now, but just feel. If safety and well-being is dear to me, of course, it's dear to everyone. Why would my safety be more important than everyone's safety? Staying here in this body, in this sensitive body, recognizing universal sensitivity, waking up to the preciousness of these bodies and hearts, of this one and all others. not escaping in the habits of mind today, staying here today, not blaming ourselves if we do, but becoming really clear about the importance of being here now. Bringing courage, bringing care, tenderness. To the being here today. In this body, and with all bodies, all living bodies. With all those who experienced being alive, those of the past, the present, and of the future, all sensitive beings. Desiring, deserving of safety, protection. Becoming intimate with the experience of being alive is our chance to become intimate with all living beings experiencing senses and sensitivity. Feeling the breath that is so dear to us, so essential to life. And the wish for this breath and all breaths to be able to happen freely. allowing the system to be visited by what it's visited right now. Coolness or warmth or gravity, breath, any mood that is there. Turbulent ones, afflictive ones, beautiful ones. Is our humanity. This is our humanity happening. Not pushing anything away, but becoming curious. Allowing what is felt to be known, met calmly or courageously or kindly or appreciatively. The ease or the dis-ease, part of our humanity, of our human experience. And whatever relative safety that is felt here in this space, in this inner space and physical space you're in, the relative safety that you're feeling here. Notice how precious this is. It might be transparent for you. It might be experienced unconsciously. Become conscious of this. There is a relative safety here now for you. Appreciate it. Let's become aware of how precious safety is. Let's vow to use our lives to make it so for everyone. Commit to contribute to life in a way that will create more safety for everyone, no one excluded here. May all beings be protected by our actions and words, by our sensitivity and awareness. May all beings, no exception, count. Thank you for this. If there are any dana that come today from this class that is offered freely, where you are always invited to, support the teachers. If any dana come from this class today, it'll be offered to Hoodstock, a local organization here in Montreal, working to bring justice and fairness in healthcare and safety for all beings, and especially for beings of racialized people, folks, black, brown, people of color. And so and on top of that, I'll give also a personal donation for sure. So how to speak about this, how to make our Dharma relevant today in this way. I'm a little bit speechless. You can see this. I'm troubled, and I'm troubled by many things, but I'm troubled by some of the words I heard my premier of Quebec say yesterday. It stuck with me. So François Legault, our premier, yesterday was talking about racism, saying that it exists, but he was kind of suggesting it was kind of isolated individuals, and and said it was not systemic, and that troubled me deeply. When we know, it's kind of fact denying, and the science is telling us, the study is done, and it's clear that there's a lot going on in the States, we know, but here in Canada, and I don't know where you're listening from, but I'm pretty sure it applies for where you're listening from. And so I'm disturbed by this, that my prime minister would not be able to acknowledge. So this is mindfulness. Being mindful of what's happening is the first step in this practice to actually do something about our own behavior, our own inner life, and how we live together in society. And that my prime minister would be in denial about this, although he could, he received all these studies about how people of color have so much more chance to be killed by police or stopped in the street. Young people here in Montreal, so I'm talking about my city that I know of, have so many more chances and are so many more times being stopped by police just for checks, And so this is at play, and there's all, and something needs to be done about it. And what can we do about it? And this is, to me, spiritual work here that we're talking about. And I'm thinking of Christopher Titmuss, who would say, if your awakening is your own little private inner life awakening, this is the kindergarten of spirituality. And so we're called here to develop these qualities that we develop as we sit in practice, as we do our inner work, to actually bring change to the world we live in. And if we take the example of the Buddha, it's so much there in the teachings. Maybe not in the teachings you've heard, but it's so much there in the teachings where the Buddha is really always coming back with, trying to cut across the conception of the world where there would be a value given to some beings more than to other human beings. And in his times, there was the caste, and so some people were known or believed to be born noble because not of their skin color, but because of their family born. They were born from Brahmin, in the Brahmin caste. And when the Buddha was teaching, he was always challenging these notions, you know, and always saying, no, you are not noble or don't have value because here, let's say the color of your skin or your sex, race, gender expression, size, age, but specifically today because so much violence, so much danger and unsafety because of your skin color. The Buddha was saying you are not noble because you were born in this or that family. You are noble because of your heart, because of what you do, because of your actions, how you speak, how you train your mind. This is what will give you nobility. Nobility is not something that you don't earn in a way, you know. And he was very, very strong by opening his monastic monasticity, you know, the possibility to become a monk or nun, monastic. He was opening this to all castes and all genders and gender expressions. And in there, there's something very political about these kinds of statement or position, posture, you know, posturing, the way of viewing the world. And so we can be inspired by the Buddha and to see how we can break a society that, you know, make an end to a society that makes it unsafe for people to walk the streets, to run, to, you know, to do anything, drive a car. All these basic things, and how can we allow ourselves to have a police that turns out to be a private police, a private militia, you know, taking care of some of us against the others of us. This doesn't work. I was reading this morning some words from Robin Menard, and she wrote a book that I was not aware of. I just learned about this book that I'm going to definitely order today. And in English, the title is State Violence in Canada, From Slavery to Present. And in French, the book is called Noir, sous surveillance. And she was pointing to, so the other premier that we have is the Canadian premier, Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, yesterday named systemic racism, which is a good thing, that the Prime Minister would say, hey, it's in the system, you know, it's in the institution, like the police force and many other institutions. He was basically saying we don't have access to resources in the same way, and there's something we have to do about it. And so Robin Menard, she was saying, this is very Canadian. This is very Canadian way to actually name things and do nothing about it. And to me, when I read this, I recognized this in our society, and I recognized it inside myself also. So I was not conscious of this before in this way. So I'm really thankful to her for naming it. And so now I have to have this in check. This is my mindfulness now. I have to check this. So Pascal, now that you've named it today, or you have in the past, what are you actually doing? Because otherwise you're in the main dominant Canadian culture, and we could define it and see if it's true by saying, oh, what's in the Canadian culture, or maybe in your own, the culture of your mind. Maybe it's denial, maybe it's to name things, but to do something about it is a whole other thing. Yeah. And so, yeah, this is something I became aware of today. And so I'll name maybe areas of the Dharma, parts of the Dharma that I think apply to what's going on in our society and how to address it. And so the Buddha, having really, really clear statements and views about the caste system and how it needed to be broken, and how he was opening his practice for everyone welcome equally in this practice. So there's this. Then there's the practice, very central. It's one of the 3 pillars of Buddhism, as many of you know, of non-harming. The whole of the practice is about suffering and the end of suffering. Suffering and the end of suffering. So it means, as we're practicing, we have to look at all the different scales and areas of our lives, of our being, yes, the inner life. So there's the end of inner harm inside oneself. And that's not, exclusive. That's totally in relationship with the way we act, the way we'll harm ourselves inside. But we have to look through Dharma practice at our relationship, the relationships in the apartment, with the roommates and the family members or whoever is there. And we have to bring our Dharma to the workplace. And we're invited to bring our Dharma to our society and to life living on the planet. And so in every area, a practitioner will bring their interest for suffering and the end of suffering. And so if Sunday, and I'm thankful if you did, if Sunday you were walking instead of sitting on your cushion, and you were walking with others, making a public statement, inviting the government and inviting a reflection for all of us, in the street with other people. If you were walking, this is spiritual practice. So you can count it as your sitting hours if you are, because it's what's important. This is the appropriate response, the appropriate way to engage with our world. And so suffering and the end of suffering, non-harming, the practice of non-harming. And so it goes beyond the non-harming of I'm not harming personally another being, but I'm part of a system that does. What do I do with this? I'm asking myself the question right now. What do you do, Pascal, with this? If you are living in a system that creates harm, what are you actually actively doing to counteract, to end, to oppose, to create new forms? So this is one of the things I'm doing here, using the space I'm given, or trust I'm given. What do you do? Thank you if you are actively doing something. I know many of you do a lot more than I, and many of us can actually reflect on this. Another thing that is very dharmic to do, mindfulness, is the wise, caring investigation of our feelings. When often we will actually bypass or deny or get busy in all kinds of ways, or act upon, all kinds of energies inside of us. The practice of actually, sitting and allowing the system to be touched, deeply touched by discomfort or ambiguity or shame or confusion, and so that it can, in time, inform, the decision making, the views that we have. And that's not easy, to actually, stop and consider when we have the privilege to exit either the conversation or, the considerations, to actually stop and be uncomfortable, be troubled, and learn how to gain balance, stay balanced while being disturbed, perturbed, confused, sad, feeling despair. How to hold this. Allow the feedback loop instead of pushing away the feelings or attacking, or to actually feel and let this come down in the guts. And from that, I believe there's clarity that can come about actions, about ways to be in the world. Yeah. And I was reading on the different sites in the past, but today again. And I think this one came from Muriel Roxanne, sharing documents. There was a list of things that we could do, and so many things that we can do. Participate in walks, write to the people who are in power that we have elected. Actually do it. Yeah? Give to the Black Lives Matter local branch, or any other organization that empowered young people of color. There was one suggestion that I thought, I want to work on this one. One amongst many others. It was saying, find books, children books, who have a diversity of characters, characters, people of color in them, who are full living beings, they're not token, but who have full lives, Buy these books, give them to schools, give them to educators that, even if you don't know this person so well through the, the social media, reach out and say, hey, would you be interested in getting some books? I'll buy a few books. So there's so many small things, creative things that we can do. And in conversation, of course, bringing the theme so that we can talk about it. And maybe I'm addressing a lot white folks here, maybe because I'm one. And, especially for us now, losing the privilege to not have to do something about this, because we have to. It's our problem. We've created it. People who look like us created it and maintain it, and we benefit from it. That's what I have to offer today. So let's take a few moments to let the silence, maybe in our own intelligence and wisdom, speak. I invite you not to try to fix just now, but be here. I think that is an important thing to do, is wait, feel. Staying here in this body, in this heart, letting go of comments, maybe. Sharing the silence together, listening in, being with what's felt, just as it is. taking a moment maybe to exchange self for others. And feeling this breath here. Imagining that this breath is somebody else's breath. Notice how it remains precious. Vital. Who am I that my happiness would be more important than the happiness of somebody else, of others? May we become the contributor to everyone's safety. And may we be able to rejoice in that. And rejoice in the safety and well-being of all beings. Thank you very much. This is what I could do today with the feelings I feel. Resources, Ruth King has a book, Mindful of Race, great book. She also organizes lead groups, by race affinity group. So different little groups. You commit for a year. Every month you have reflections and group support to actually, find the wisdom, unpack all that there is around the concept and reality that we made up of something that has no meaning outside of the meaning we gave it. Race. For white people, there's a site called White Awake, full of good stuff in there. For Canadians, I know of a Deep Diversity, very good read. And in the chat here, you have the title of the book from Robin Menard. James Baldwin, an amazing author, maybe one of the greatest American author. The Fire Next Time is a book that has touched me a lot. For white people, again, Waking Up White is a very powerful book. Deep Denial is another one. The New Jim Crow, another one. These are some that come to mind. Really good read for this summer. Important read, responsible things to read. Of course, there's a lot more resources out there. These are the ones I think about. And for indigenous folks and people of color, there's a sit that Muriel and Don lead every week. And there's a retreat coming. Thank you, Muriel, for writing it. And so Don and Lama Rudd Owens, they're going to lead a retreat, an online retreat with True North, coming very soon. So for people of color, this is a very safe environment, beautiful place to practice and find refuge and maybe healing and inspiration with these wise beings, Lama Rudd Owens, that you can listen to all over the place, and Don also was with us very often. Okay, thank you very much for showing up and practicing with me today. Wish all of us safety, and yes, thank you.